Hello and welcome to the Adobe Creative Suite Podcast. My name is Terry White, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at how to create your own custom wallpaper for your new iPhone 5. And actually, it doesn't have to be an iPhone 5. I'm just going to give you the specifications for that one, but you can actually use this technique for any smartphone. iPhone 4, or, Android, whatever you have. But specifically, since the iPhone 5 just came out, I figured some users would probably want to know how to do it for that particular phone, so let's go ahead and take a look. Now, we're not just going to make a custom wallpaper because that process is pretty easy. What we're going to do is we're going to make a custom ice wallpaper in case of emergency. You're passed out, your phone is locked with a pin, no one can actually get to your phone numbers, so how would they know who to call unless they could actually look at the screen and see a number on that screen to actually call? So let's go ahead and take a look to do that. Now, I'm here in Photoshop CS6, and I'm going to first create a new empty document that's the exact size of my phone. And you can get this information probably from the specifications page of your phone manufacturer. And in my case, we're just going to go File, New, and I had already tested this, so the settings are in there. But let's go ahead and make the Terry White iPhone 5 Ice Wallpaper 2, because this will be the second time I've done this. All right, so for your knowledge or for your information, you want the width to be 640 pixels. Now, normally Photoshop's in by inches, or whatever your default measurement system is. So you want to set it to pixels, and it's going to be 640 by 1136. And if you want that high quality retina look, at 326 pixels per inch. So that's 640 by 1136 at 326. Now, it doesn't really matter if I start with white, a particular color, or transparent, because I'm going to build this up, anyway in layers. So we might as well start with transparent. That'll just give us an empty document that's the exact size of the entire iPhone screen. Now, what I want on that screen is a photo. So I already have the photo open in Photoshop in one of my tabs here. I'm just going to go to that tab, and I'm going to, using the Move tool, move a copy of this photo or this layer over to my ice background. So I drag it up to the ice or the wallpaper tab, and then drag down into the document. Now, as you can see, the photo is quite large. This, again, came from a 12 megapixel camera. So that's still much larger than your iPhone's display. So I'm going to hit Command-T on Mac, Control-T on Windows for free transform. And it's so large, the handles are off the screen. I can't even see it. So I'm also going to hit Command-0 on Mac, Control-0 on Windows to be able to see all handles for this large photo. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this down to where it's at least in view. It doesn't have to match the exact dimensions. It's okay if I have some of this cropped off because it's just a landscape shot and I can move it around and position it on the screen where I want it to be. All right, so now I've got the photo in place that I want. And again, custom wallpapers, if that's all you want, it was your own photo, you can do that on your device. Just load that photo up and set it as your wallpaper. But we're going to add things to this to make it custom. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to now take an account for the areas of the screen that we can't see or we can't use. For example, at the top of the iPhone is the time and date, and at the bottom is the slide to unlock. So it doesn't make sense to put anything in those areas because they're going to be covered up by what's on the iPhone screen. You won't be able to see that information anyway. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the measurements. We're going to turn on our rulers. So that's Command-R on Mac, Control-R for ruler on Windows. That'll bring up your rulers, and your rulers by default are going to also be in inches. So that's not going to really help us. We want these in pixels. So put your pointer anywhere on your ruler, right click or control click on on Mac, and we're going to switch it from inches or whatever it's on 2 pixels. That way, we're measuring in ruler increments the same as our document. Now we're going to use this ruler to drag out some ruler guides. This will help us block off the area that we have as free space to be able to design. So the first ruler guide we're going to do is we're going to pull it down from the top. And as I'm pulling it down, you can see the Y measurement over on the right-hand side there. I'm going to pull it down to about 232, or as close as I can get it to 232. Okay, 233.4. That means everything above it is off limits. That's the clock, that's the iPhone interface, stuff that if I put anything up there, you wouldn't see it because it'd be behind everything that's already there. Then we're going to scroll, or we're going to pull another guide down to approximately 940. And again, it doesn't have to be exact. If you want it to be a little bit shy of 940, that's probably better because then you know you're good to go, because 940 on down is the slide to unlock. And again, no sense designing anything down here because you won't be able to see it really, very clearly. So this middle space is fair game. You can put, if someone wakes your phone up, and even if it's protected with a password, they can get the slide to unlock, but they will still be able to see whatever we put here, and that's the point of this. Now, I'm going to pull out another ruler guide to kind of give me, I'm going to use this kind of bottom area to do our design. So I'm just going to pull out another ruler guide just to kind of give me an idea for a block of space that I want to use, maybe about that much. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now use this area to design my ICE information. So we're going to switch to the rectangular marquee tool, and we're just going to make a rectangular selection of this backdrop. Now that I've got that selection, I want to put it on its own layer. So I want this to be on a layer all by itself. Command J on Mac, Control J on Windows. So now that piece that we just selected is on a layer, duplicated all by itself. Now we're going to duplicate that layer because we're going to use this layer for something else in between the two layers. So we'll just drag this down to the new layer icon. And now we made a copy of it. And by the way, it's probably a good idea to start naming your layers at this point because it will, as we build more, it will get confusing. Now, do we need the transparent layer? No, there's nothing on it. There's nothing that's gonna be on it. So no sense confusing things. Let's go ahead and trash that one. So now we have this layer 2, we're just gonna call it background. Okay, and we're gonna call this one white bar, because that's what it's ultimately going to be. And we're going to call this one background bar. I don't know. This is going to be the bar that goes across the top. Okay, so now we're going to go to this white bar. Let's turn off the background bar for a minute. We're going to go to this white bar, and this is the one we're going to turn white, if you haven't guessed. So I'm going to hit the letter D on my keyboard to get to my default colors, black and white. And I'm going to select this layer by holding down my Command key on the Mac, Control key on Windows to select everything that's on that layer. You could drag out the marquee again, but it's just easier enough to go ahead and select it. Now, we will do a Command Delete on the Mac or Control Backspace on Windows to fill that layer with white. And if you're having a problem with that keyboard shortcut, I know some keyboards, the delete key and the backspace key don't always work the same way, especially on Windows. Just go up to Edit and choose Fill and choose Fill with background color or Fill with white. So you can just fill it if the Command Delete doesn't work for you, because that's all we're doing is we're just filling that layer with white. So we got this layer on top, the white layer underneath, and the background layer underneath that. Okay, so now we'll go back to the bar, make sure it's selected, and we want that bar to kind of stand out, which by the way, we're kind of done with the guides. The guides are, they've served their purpose. You can move them out of your way so we can see what we're kind of getting here. Let's move them down a bit. All right, so now we've got the bar here and we got it selected. And what I want to do on that bar is I want to make the bar a little darker than the rest of the background so it stands out. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjust, and we'll go to our levels. And on my levels, I'm just going to bring the mid-tone level. If we wanted to make it lighter, we would drag it to the left. And maybe you're on a really dark background, you want to make that middle part lighter. But in my case, my background's pretty light. I just want to make it a little darker. So we'll just drag it to the right. Okay, the next thing I want to do to make that bar stand out is I want to give it kind of a bevel, a nice rounded edge to it. So we'll go to our effects down here in the layers panel, and we're just going to simply say bevel and emboss. So now that we've got our bevel and emboss, by default, it does it at an angle where the left side's showing the white and the top showing the white. I don't want the left side to show the white. So we're going to change the angle to 90. So that means it's only going up and down, not a little bit off to the side. Now at this point, you can control how you want that to look. We can control the size of it, maybe give it a little bit more. We can control the depth of it to kind of bring it in some. We can control the softness of it, make it softer, kind of like that, maybe not so big. There we go, that looks about right. And okay, we've got this area, this nice space to design on. So now we'll go ahead and just click OK. And what we're going to do is, and you're probably wondering, well, what's the white for? You'll see the white bar in a moment. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start designing the things we want on top of this. So the first thing I want is, and I didn't have this on my previous iPhone, I just figured since I have to make a new one of these to match the new size, I might as well use my new logo. So I've got a logo here open in Photoshop, and it's just on a layer by itself, or you could use the place command to bring it in if you hadn't brought it in already. And we can just simply drag that in to the new document. Okay, of course it's bigger than the iPhone screen, so we'll just hit Command T for free transform, Control T on Windows, and we'll just scale, holding down the Shift key, we'll just scale that down. Kind of get it in place, scale it down, gonna make it nice and small there. Maybe right about there, we'll bring it down some, just using my arrow keys here, and we can even probably get away with making it a little smaller. Okay, now my logo actually has my name on it, it has Terry White on it. I don't want my name on it for this document, so I'm gonna zoom in, use my marquee tool. We'll select that name area ever so carefully and simply delete it. Okay, so now I've got my logo in place. And by the way, I don't want the logo to stand out that much. And we'll call it logo for the layer. And we'll just lower the opacity ever so slightly. Just kind of make it fade in just a little bit more there. Okay, great. So now we can go ahead and start putting in our text. So the first thing I want people to know, if someone finds my phone, that, hey, you know, you dropped your phone in your airport, let's page Terry White. So we'll grab our text tool, just hit the letter T on the keyboard, that'll bring up the text tool, and then we can click, and we're just gonna start typing in black, so it's hard to see, Terry White's iPhone. And I'm not going to say iPhone 5 or, you know, whatever, because, you know, there's going to be a 5S someday, and I don't want to have to redo this. All right, so now I've got the text there. We want to make that text stand out a little bit more. So we're just going to click the color, and I could use white. I'm going to use white for some other things here. That actually looks pretty good. You can also start sampling some of the other colors in your document if you want to match. So just by moving into your document, you can sample that kind of mountainous orange color there. We'll click OK, and now we can make that a little bigger. How about 9 points? There we go. And you can, of course, use whatever font you want, whatever style you want. You can design that part of it any way you want, whatever looks good to you. All right, so let's do one more thing here. Let's make sure okay, good, it's off. Just wanted to make sure my tracking was set to 0. Okay, so now I've identified whose phone it is. And the next thing I want to do is then put in the ICE information, the in case of emergency call. Now, in this case, you're going to want to use someone else. In other words, you're unconscious, you're incapacitated, you can't talk. Therefore, you want the person to call someone who can act on your behalf. Having your phone number there doesn't do you much good because they're holding your phone. It's just going to ring in their hand. So we're going to say, we're just going to click here on with our text tool, in case of emergency, please call. Of course, we need to make that smaller. I'm doing Command Shift less than or Control Shift less than on Windows to make it smaller. Maybe that. Okay, and I'm also going to go ahead and set that to white to make it stand out more. Okay, in case of emergency, please call, and this is where you would put in that loved one, that spouse, that sister, brother, whoever you want called. I'm going to just make up a number here so my loved ones don't get calls from you guys. There we go, 555-1212. And you can, again, make this any size you want it, whatever size fits. How about 6 points instead of, not 56. How about 6? There we go. 6 points seems to work well. Now, I kind of want that to stand out a little bit more. And what I would love to put next to it is a red cross. Like, hey, there's a medical thing here. And by the way, you can also use this for medical information. So if you're on a particular prescription or drug that you want the people to know about that find you, and you can put that right there too, so they'll have it displayed right on the phone. But in my case, I just want the red cross. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the bar layer, the background bar, and I'm going to make a selection with my elliptical marquee tool. We'll just go ahead and make a circle. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and make a circle in this spot. Now that I've got my circle, I'm going to press the Delete key. Oh, there's my white. That's the white bar showing through the hole I just cut out. And if I hit Command D to deselect, my hole even has a nice bevel on it because of the effect of this layer. So I got the best of both worlds. Now we're going to go, now that we got the white showing through, this is where we're going to put our red cross below the background layer. So we're going to go to the white bar layer, and we're going to make a new layer in between that, and that's going to be the one that contains our cross. So let's zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm on that new layer that's between white bar and background bar. I'm going to use my, my rectangular marquee, and we're just going to make a selection right above, because I can make selections, I can do whatever I want because I'm not on the background bar layer, I'm on the new layer underneath. So I can just go ahead and make a selection. And we'll move that over because I didn't do it quite in the center, maybe right about there. And we're going to go ahead and select a nice color, like red. There we go. And Option Delete on Mac or Alt Delete on Windows to fill that with red. And if the keyboard shortcuts aren't working, go Edit Fill with foreground color. Okay, so now I've got my red bar there. And of course, we want to make a cross, so we're going to just simply duplicate that red bar so we don't have to draw it again. We're going to hit Command T for free transform, and we're just going to go ahead and rotate that bar. There we go. There's our cross. And it's nice and visible on the white background, which, by the way, you can adjust the white any way you want. So if I want to lower the opacity of the white just a bit, make it not stand out quite so much, then it will show the original background underneath. Okay, we're almost done. Now, we've covered whose phone is it. We've covered who to call in case of an emergency. Last but not least, we also want to kind of put a little fear into the person that may have stolen the phone or found it but doesn't want to turn it in. So we're going to add one more thing, and we're going to do this again above the background bar. So we're just going to select the background bar layer again. We're going to grab our text tool and we're just going to click at the very bottom here. And we're going to say, this, maybe all caps, this device has, or no, let's do, not this device, device tracking enabled. Enabled. There we go. Device tracking enabled. Click OK, or click that we did it, and we can move this around. And we can kind of just let people know, hey, if you found this, we're tracking it. You might want to turn it in. Now, whatever else you want to design on here, feel free. You know your area of workspace that you can work in. You know what you can, what you want to stay between your guides. You want to put your email address on there. You want to put whatever other information you want on there for people to be able to contact you if this phone is found, a reward, whatever it is. That's what you're making this custom space for. Okay, so now that we've got this nicely done, and again, you can design it any way you want. Let's go ahead and save it. And you could have saved sooner. I just live on the edge like that. And we'll save it. And then we will export it. Now I saved it as a PSD, a Photoshop file with all the layers, so we can always come back and make changes. But now I need to save it in a format that I can put it back on my phone. So let's go up to File and Save As. And we're going to save it back out as a PNG file. Now I know what you're thinking, well, why not a JPEG? A JPEG will work, but a JPEG is lossy. So that means your text won't be quite as crisp. It won't look quite as good on that new Retina display that you have. So if you save it out as a PNG file, that will maintain that vector look to your text and your logos and things. So let's go ahead and click Save. And you don't have to do a compression, but it's compressed by default. So we'll just go ahead and say OK. And that is now saved out onto my hard drive. So let's go out to the hard drive and take a look here. And I saved it on my second hard drive here, and there it is. So now I need to send this over to my phone. And this is up to you. You can it depends on how you sync photos to your phone. If you use iPhoto, put it in iPhoto. If you use Dropbox, put it in Dropbox. However you get images to your phone. I use an application on the phone called PhotoSync. And PhotoSync also has a desktop component. So I just drag this new PNG file over to PhotoSync. It sees my iPhone 5 running the same application, and I click Send. And now it's on my phone. So the next thing we want to do is know how to actually enable it so that we can see it. So let's head over to the phone. Here we are on my iPhone 5. We'll tap Settings. We'll tap Brightness and Wallpaper. We'll tap the default wallpaper that was there. We'll go to the camera roll, which is where the picture is that I just put in there. I got lots of pictures in my camera roll. I need to clean that up. We'll go to the last one, and there it is. So we'll just hit Set for the lock screen. And now, when we lock the phone and wake it up, that becomes what people see. So that's how you create your own custom wallpaper, your own custom ICE wallpaper using Photoshop CS6 for your new iPhone 5. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And by the way, if there's something you didn't catch, simply watch it again. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.